Hi, and welcome to the Green with Tiffany podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Page, and in this show, we'll explore topics of sustainable living, all aspects of health and wellness, of people and planet, and how we're all interconnected. Join us on this journey to live better and more sustainably by improving our health, our families, and the world with the choices that we make. Welcome, everyone, to Green with Tiffany. I'm Tiffany Page, your host, and I'm kicking off Pet Wellness Month. And it is a month that I'm very excited about because if anyone knows me, they know that I'm madly in love with my little Chihuahua, Lilliput. She's a 16-year-old, 6.5-pound Chihuahua. And along my journeys of keeping her well and promoting good health, I have found this great product. So I wanted to share it with everybody. I share it personally with everybody, and now I get to share it with all of you. And that is Dr. Hempdog. And we are here with the co-founder, Marc Halprin. Hi, Marc. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having us.
So I was referred to you by this amazing holistic doctor in Hawaii, Dr. Baskow. And he had told me about Dr. Hempdog. And I was using a different CBD at the time. And I don't know if you're familiar with kinesiology, but everything I do for me or my dog or even family for that matter, I take to this kinesiologist and he does like a muscle testing and how it tests for the body. And so your product tested better than the product I was using. And so I thought that was great. And so, of course, I switched and haven't looked back. And so I wanted to talk about CBD.
How have the results been? Were the results better?
The results were great. I mean, especially for her, you know, she's older, so arthritis. She did get diagnosed with a mammary tumor. And if I wish I'd found your product sooner or knew about CBD sooner in that sense. So it did help with her pain for sure. And what's even more astonishing is your amazing customer service, which we'll go into, but that was really over the top for me. It was amazing. But I wanted to talk about what CBD is. So Dr. Hempdog is a CBD, and I wanted to get into a little bit on the 101 of that because some people are still, it's definitely more mainstream, I'm sure, than when you started. It's not so uncommon to say I'm on CBD or my dog has CBD. But still, I think there's a little bit of a stigma behind it for some who think like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to give my dog drugs, that kind of thing. But I wanted to get into, Marc, the fact that you're the co-founder and how I found out who your other co-founder is. And his name is Coool?
Correct, yes.
So Coool is your dog. What kind of dog was it? Was he? Is he?
He was a Labrador, or he is a Labrador, but he's passed.
Yes.
And we started back in 2015. His journey was one of severe arthritis at 11 years old, but he was super healthy besides that. So it set us on this path of having no choice but to be successful. And, you know, our backs were up against the wall trying to navigate this mobility issue that it really, just an unfair mobility issue. He had extremely bad arthritis, but he was healthy besides that. And his whole entire life, he had led an extremely healthy life, diet, water, just the right wellness routine. And we went through the needing help from the medical community. And so we reached out to our vet and, got that diagnosis early on when he was probably just turned 10. He was starting to limp, and he was a big guy, but 90-pound lab, but skinny and just, a bigger guy and fit, a lot of swimming. And we started to learn what it's like to treat a senior dog with arthritis through the typical Western medical veterinary protocol, which is pharmaceutical painkillers, which have side effects and are not sustainable. And now, no, there's very few of them are even strong enough to have an effect. And it started this journey 8 years ago on how we could help Coool. And it's just been it's been incredible to be a part of the ride, because this plant is so powerful. And the biggest misconception is the term CBD. So it's great now that people are educated about the fact that these things exist, and they usually have people in their network who have had success and that they trust, but everyone's trying to figure out how to use it properly. And, oh, it works for this, it doesn't work for that. I tried it, So yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of organization to the amount of information that's out there. And you don't know who to trust because there's a lot of trusted people out there that are talking about it, but they may not be using the right terminology. And so just to set everyone up that's listening, that is interested in it, there are compounds called cannabinoids, and CBD is a cannabinoid. It's one of the strongest, most prevalent cannabinoids in the hemp plant, or the cannabis plant would be identical. The difference between hemp and cannabis is just the amount of another cannabinoid, which is called THC, which is why people use recreational marijuana. The THC level can be psychoactive. Our product is not psychoactive. None of our products are psychoactive. But yes, some people going into using cannabinoids for the first time are going to want to know, am I getting my dog high? I don't want to get my dog high. We don't want to get your dog high either. So if you're giving a dog something that's mind altering to them or intoxicating or psychoactive, that's really difficult for that dog to really understand why they're feeling the way they are. So it's really important. You can have adverse effects. People, I've been in this industry for about 8 years and, dealt with tens of thousands of animals. Personally, I've talked to many and of their humans, and our staff has dealt with so many more, obviously. And we hear a lot of, a lot of people that'll say, oh, I used marijuana and can I blow marijuana smoke in my dog's face? Do not do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. It's not a healthy thing for your dog.
Yeah, that's not quite the same thing.
THC is a cannabinoid. It's a second cannabinoid. So now we have CBD, we have THC as cannabinoids. There's over 100 more that occur in nature, and the majority of them are found in this plant, hemp. And the rest of them, besides THC, are not psychoactive. Most of them are anti-anxiety and anti-inflammatory. Basically, once you start peeling back the layers of the science, we lead with the science. Everything that we do is based on science. If you go to our website, you'll see all the science and all the research that's been done for dogs and cannabinoids and all the different cannabinoids. Most of them are around CBD, but you'll find, any safety information you're looking for about cannabinoids with using them with animals or your dogs. You'll find all that information on our science blog on our website. It's crucial for us in this business, to be able to lead with the facts and the science and not the nuance. And additionally, we're trailblazing the industry because we have next generation products that are based on the science that we're actually able to grow now that are even stronger for certain ailments. And that's a separate conversation, but that's not laying the foundation conversation. But we do have, there is a lot of opportunity with different cannabinoids to affect certain ailments. And the reason this is the case is because this is probably the biggest shocker that someone's going to hear on this podcast, if they didn't know it before, is every mammal, including humans and dogs, have what are called an endocannabinoid system. It's an endocannabinoid receptors. They're all throughout our body. There's a couple different kinds of receptors. Some occur in major organs. All the major organs have cannabinoid receptors, including the brain. And then the skin has all these cannabinoid receptors too. In our brains, all mammals' brains actually produce cannabinoids. And these cannabinoids interact with the endocannabinoid system, and it can help regulate homeostasis in the body, including mood and inflammation and pain. And so this system is a homeostatic system, which means it keeps our body in a homeostasis. So when you wake up in the morning or you go to bed at night, your body's putting the right chemicals into the brain so that the person feels good, especially if they're healthy and they're doing the right things to service their body. And so having a balanced endocannabinoid system is what these molecules really are doing. They're helping balance maybe an imbalanced endocannabinoid system. So one of the hypotheses is that maybe some dogs have anxiety from an imbalanced endocannabinoid system, and cannabinoid right combo, putting that inside their body, is having a positive effect because they had an imbalanced endocannabinoid system, because there used to be a lot more cannabinoids in soil and in food. And also, we potentially, our bodies are made to be a little healthier and to thrive a little bit more, supporting with nutrition. And therefore, that homeostasis that provides makes it so the endocannabinoid system is healthier and the body's healthier overall. So these are some of the, the thoughts behind why our bodies work this way. But the fact of the matter is, we actually have the hardware inside of our bodies to interact with these molecules naturally. So hemp extract, the dominant molecule we're going to get out of there is CBD, but there's a litany of other cannabinoids in there that actually make the CBD work properly. So if you have an isolated CBD, it does not work nearly as well or properly opposed to what we call a full spectrum, which has all of those other supporting cannabinoids in it that actually allow it to work on our endocannabinoid system better. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a long-winded explanation, but to start ourselves off right here, I hope that makes sense. And I'm happy to, answer questions around that before we go further.
No, that's fantastic. I just wanted to really underline what you're saying too about other drugs or pharmaceuticals or going the kind of Western medicine or allopathic way, because people think that, well, that's what my doctor's giving me, so I'm going to go that way. But like you said, there's side effects and it is a drug. So then for people to think that CBD is a drug doesn't really make sense. So I look at it this way with my mom, who was against CBD for the longest time for herself. And I got her some, very wonderful cream that she's been using. And now she is just changed her mind completely. A lover of CBD, understands it. I explained it to her. So thank you for really explaining that for people. I think, if they have any thoughts or concerns, this is what I want to help shed the light on and let people know that it is a not even an alternative. It's just a great way to go for so many ailments for people and pets. But since we're talking about pets specifically, from pain management to anxiety to seizures to cancer to arthritis, all these things that CBD is being used for and really doing a great job. And so I love that you gave that example, especially with the full spectrum. And then we can go into a little bit more of the terpene, is it terpene profile?
Yeah.
And just hemp in general is just such an amazing miracle plant, really. If you think about it, you can make paper, you can make clothing, you can make food. I mean, there were so many uses for it. And then, of course, there's these health uses as well. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that. And what's so incredible is if you were to buy a CBD oil at a local pet store, there's directions on the back of how to give it. But if you've never done it, it can be a little intimidating. And that's where I was with it. I was like, well, she's so little. How do I know? And they'll, and then they give kind of a dosing, but if you've never done it, I just thought it was a little like, oh my goodness. And so with the difference with Dr. Hempdog, which is just incredible, not only are you getting this superior product, but I am telling you, I am a customer service girl, and I cannot believe that in this day and age where there's billions of people, that you can get such one-on-one counseling in a way with this product on how to dose your little fur baby. It was over the top, Mark. I mean, I rave about it. I've told everybody that I know because it was so helpful to ease my mind on, okay, am I doing the right thing? And then you go a step further and you check in with me later. It's amazing. How are you able to sustain that? I think it's great.
That's a great question. I love that you asked that. So it's really fun to talk to you, by the way, because you get it. And that's what we're here to do. Our motto is we do this for them.
I love that.
Everything stems from that. So, your dog or your cat or your horse or whoever we're helping service, let's say it's a dog. The majority of our clients are dogs, but we do service all animals. And they don't understand what money is. They don't understand what medicine is. A lot of times they don't even understand if they're eating a medicine or a pill that's mixed into their food. They can't tell you how they feel, like vocally, typically. A lot of people can tell just by looking in their eyes or, put their hands on them and such, but it's not their fault. And they're living in our community. And what do we have to do to help them to have maximum success for as many animals? Which is really, we lead with the education. And that's the right way to do it. So we started that way. There's some other things. There's some funny stories. I don't know how much time we have, but there are some funny stories about when we started back in 2015, when it was the Wild West and laws were very ambiguous and unclear, even in domestically. It was a challenging time, and I certainly could write a book about it. It's really interesting. A lot of funny stories that happened along the way, but we don't have any red flags against us for banking or for the FDA or for Department of Agriculture, who manages, most of the pet animal products out there. We don't have any red flags, which most companies in this industry that have been around for a while do, because they were trying to do business in a climate that wasn't very advantageous to this kind of product yet. And so we found it really useful to get on the phone with people, because at first we didn't really have a way to take money from them. We weren't able to get banking back in 2015. We weren't going to lie to the banks about what we were doing, because the companies that did that, which there's a lot of them, they got in a lot of trouble, and they forever will have that mark on their record with the banks. So we didn't want to do that. And, hemp is so close to marijuana, which back in 2015, the laws weren't as loose as they are now in 2022. So it was a really interesting time. So we got on the phone with a lot of our customers, and we saw the success rate was so much higher because of the education factor. And like you said in the beginning, people don't want to get their dog intoxicated. And so getting on the phone with them, we could explain the science about how cannabinoids work on the endocannabinoid system. We actually have this hardware we're wired to receive cannabinoids that can have an influence on inflammation in your body. And what's all sickness? If you ask a holistic doctor, they'll say, and you probably know this, Tiffany, because you're probably, deal with, holistic wellness people. They say it's all from inflammation, right?
Yes. The base of all dis-ease.
Mm-hmm. So this plant has about 30 different compounds right now. They're all anti-inflammatory. All of them. Science shows they're all anti-inflammatory, and there's no side effects. So, it's the reality that we get to live in here at Dr. Hempdog, where we know things that other people haven't really experienced yet, but we know them to be true. And it's just a matter of the rest of the world catching up. I want to answer the customer service question, because I love this. I love all the accolades you gave me, but one thing I want to add to that. So anyone's listening and they say, "Oh, great customer service experience." Well, everyone's been at the restaurant where they get over service, and they're like, "I'm just trying to have a nice night with my dinner date here, and we're just trying to talk. We don't want to be interrupted anymore." No one likes over servicing, right? We don't, and just so everyone knows, we're very efficient with our service. We're text message heavy. We'll jump on a call with you. We'll do email if you need. We'll talk to your veterinarian for you. We service a ton of veterinarians, but our goal is high quality, the best product. We're a customer service company that happens to sell the best hemp oil in the world for animals, but our customer service is efficient. So if you deal with us, it's not like you're going to have to be led into a half-hour conversation with your new best friend. That's available if you need it. And a lot of times our conversations do turn into that, but we're very efficient with our customers' time. Very efficient. We can help you in 5 minutes if you have questions and set you up for success. It's about setting up for success. We noticed early on in 2015, we saw all these successes we were having with our product and with all of these ailments. But 7 years later, we know for arthritis, it works 100% of the time. I'm 100% confident in saying that. It works 100% of the time. It's going to give your dog relief if it's dosed properly. Right. That's the key. Most people will say, "Oh, well, it's strong, so I'm going to start low just with 1 drop." No, it's actually, you need a 0.5 milliliter for this 70-pound dog. 1 drop is only 1/20th of that dose. You need to dose it correctly in order to see it work. And doesn't get your dog high. It doesn't make your dog sleep. As a matter of fact, it will do the opposite. It's going to wake your dog up, give your dog relief, so your dog feels more like themselves.
And that's what was the most helpful. And I hope I didn't convey that, there's constant text messages of check-ins. It's, it was just like kind of periodic, but I appreciate appreciated that because when you buy a product, typically you're one and done. You buy the product, you'll never hear from the person again necessarily, right? So I thought that this was very helpful in case things change. Maybe you need to change the dose, that kind of thing. My dosing was
It's
7
crucial.
drops a day, twice a day.
It's
morning
crucial
and evening.
because about 20 to 30% of our customers that we do interact, we get on the phone with, and we do follow up with them after that to make sure it's working. 20 or 30% usually need a dose adjustment. The way it works is we prefer to get on the phone for 15 minutes with all the new customers so we can set them up for max success efficiently. We'll capture all the information about the animal's ailment, explain how the endocannabinoid system works, give best dosing practices, and answer all their questions within 15 minutes. And there's no pressure. Our staff is not allowed to push product at all. They're not allowed. They get in trouble for it. What they do is they make it obvious for your situation. They give you all the information you need. If you decide to acquire it, they will follow up with you a week after you started using it to make sure it's working properly. If it isn't, we likely captured the information wrong about your dog's ailment, and we need to update the dosing information. Some people it may have been a miscommunication from the human saying, oh, it's not a big deal. So we check in to make sure it's working. And we've seen since the last 7 years, Tiffany, our success rate is so high and our word of mouth business is so high because our product quality is the best in the industry. Just look at our lab work. It's on the homepage of our website at the bottom. Look at our lab work and compare it to any of our competitors. You'll see from looking at our lab work how many compounds that are medicinal, how clean our product is. Once you compare that, there's a lot more going on in this than just CBD. And CBD has become a cheap commodity. You can make it in China for, really cheap. There's no one knows what's in it, but it's not going to work right. Our product is way more dynamic than that. It's all organically grown here in Colorado. We have the best extraction that you can have. Our competitors, even though we have the best strain, that's not good enough. You need the best extraction. Our machinery is about $1.5 million that our product comes out of. We get more medicine out of the plant. We start with better genetics, and it's organically grown. So we're very hands-on with the science and making sure it works. And listen, your products are only as good as your service, Tiffany. So service is very important to me. Very, very, very important to me. Efficient service.
Well, I commend you on it.
Efficiently. Thank you so much. We're very proud of it. I'm very proud of my staff. They're exceptional. And we help more dogs because of it. And that's really, at the end of the day, the best part of it.
Absolutely. Now, did you think, as you're talking about all of this, did you think when it was never a plan to get into this line of work, or was it?
That's another good question. I like that question. So I have a background in food manufacturing and entrepreneurship. So I'm also a friend of the canines. I have my friends would call me a dog whisperer. All my dogs are trained not to need leashes, and to be polite. And, I've trained a lot of dogs in my life, and basically to have good manners. All my dogs that I train make sure to have good manners. And if they don't follow the protocol, then they are a leash dog. But, my connection with canines is really a spiritual connection. Having close of a relationship with another species, when you can look each other in the eyes and just do like a head nod, or just know exactly what each other is thinking and wanting and feeling. And to be so connected to another being that's not the same genetics is profound. It's enlightening, and it's significant. I've had those relationships with animals where I consider them to be my peers. I think that every animal has a soul, and we should all treat each other the way we want to be treated. And no matter can't help who you are when you're born, what species you are, where you're born, who your parents are, what environment you're born into. We don't have that choice. Dogs have souls.
Okay, Mark, you're getting me all misty here. You're getting me all misty.
I do anything to help them. And so I was involved in some other stuff. I didn't get into this industry because it was a good business. I got in this industry because I thought that I could make a difference. And I had a bunch of companies back in Thank you. I appreciate it. We have. Coool was alive for the first 3 years of the company, which was amazing. And people say, well, who's the founder of this company, or who's the founders? And well, we have a huge community, and we have a lot of people who are part of our community, our team. But it just, all these doors kept opening. It was really weird. I had a couple companies that were actually asking me to get on board with them that were doing this, that I knew. And I met a lot of people in the industry. And because I had a background in manufacturing of food, which had a lot of compliance issues, I understood the production aspect of it and the logistical aspect and challenges that at first was legal. And so early on, I got a good vision of what was going to happen here. I thought most companies were going to flail because they weren't going to be able to navigate the legal side and the banking side. And then, because a lot of people didn't have business experience, they got into the CBD business because it got so trendy. Oh, I know somebody, they can make this product for me or whatever. And then what you had a couple of years after that, which is 2019, 2020 now, you had so many companies in the industry that every retailer in any possible place that could sell CBD was now selling it. And not only were they selling it, they were getting calls 10 times a week from other companies that wanted to sell their CBD products there too. And so it just became overly trendy. It got bastardized. A lot of misinformation got out there. And the industry now is going through a big correction because I would say at least half the companies are out of business in the last 2 years that were in this industry 2 years ago. It probably a lot bigger, a lot more than that. And so back in 2015, I just had a good vision. I said, look, this science isn't going anywhere. The fact that this 13-year-old dog who was on a cocktail of painkillers and his eyes were glossing over the last few months, and he was losing his coat over the last few months, now is off those medications and he's on my product, and now he walks better than he has in the year. That's not going anywhere. That biology is not leaving. So how do we stay ahead and relevant in this industry? Because there's a lot of opportunity, and because it's a new industry, there's a lot of opportunity. So I knew that. So what we did at Dr. Hempdog is we were just very patient. What we did is we affected all the dogs that we could everywhere, all over the US, all the veterinarians that we developed the relationships with. We were very careful not to do anything wrong legally, where a lot of our competitors were doing illegal advertising, and they were selling money and they were printing money. But we said, look, we're in it for the long haul. We know that in the future, there's more to this. It's not just CBD. There's CBC, CBG, CBDV are going to change everything. And those are already upon us. And those are going to affect cancer in an even more significant way than just CBD on its own. So the vision I just had is really interesting. I was really one day woke up and all these doors were opening and all these people were asking me, and people were reaching out to me to answer questions about how to use cannabinoids successfully for their dogs. Even other companies were tapping my knowledge that we're just getting started. We'd love to bring you on as an advisor. And I was on the news for it a couple of times in New York City, actually.
Well, you have a lot of knowledge. It's amazing.
So this was in 2015. And so I got all these phone calls, and it just, one day I was sitting there and I was like, well, I don't think a lot of people have the same opportunity for something this new and this significant as me. I just, the universe is smiling on me right now, and I want to help animals. And I don't really have a choice because there's a lot of animals out there that need to be helped. So we started helping friends and family, and it grew.
So you were definitely on your path of meant to be. My motto, you have the motto is we do it for them, which I love. My motto is choose to care, and why you choose to care, which you've obviously shared that as well. But I do want to go back to the product itself, the full spectrum and what that means, as well as there's 3 that you have that you offer right now, the 200, the 500, and the 1,000 milligrams. Lily had the 200, and she was getting 7 drops in the morning and 7 drops in the evening. And if you think about that, that's very little. So for people who are new to CBD, I wanted to speak about full spectrum. And I think you mentioned it a little, but kind of like the definition and the overview of what that is.
Definitely. Yeah, this is a softball question for me, Tiffany.
Yes, I know.
This is an easy way. So I'll make it really simple. You know how they say if you can't explain it simply, then you don't you don't really understand it. So hopefully I can explain this simply for everyone. I've answered this many times. So if anyone's listening, this is all you need to know. There's 3 kinds of CBD products out there that you can take internally: broad spectrum, isolate, and full spectrum. Isolate is just a pure isolated CBD. It's proven, the science shows it does not work properly without the other supporting cannabinoids, which you will get in a full spectrum product. Full spectrum is going to have all the cannabinoids. It should have CBC, CBG, CBDV at the minimum, in addition to CBD. There's a few other ones that can come up there too that aren't bad. But that's what makes it a full spectrum, is the cannabinoids. Now, in addition to that, one of the gray areas, people will think that full spectrum needs to have terpenes as well. You know, you do want terpenes. Terpenes are the sign of, they're the essential oil in the plant. It's what gives the plant its flavor and smell. The terpenes that are in hemp smell really nice. They're piney and sweet. And when you have those terpenes in there, those terpenes are actually essential oils. So if you go into your health food store and you buy essential oils, it's basically the same thing. A lot of the essential oils that are in that health food store that are isolated are actually in hemp. The exact same terpenes that are in lemon, that give lemon its smell, you find in hemp. Some of the terpenes you find in strawberries, you will find in hemp. It's really interesting. Nature has about 300 main terpenes and flavonoids that give flavor and smell to every plant that we consume. And there's about 3,000 of them, but there's about 300 main ones that you'll find. And you'll find the same terpene and flavonoid in a lot of different plants that taste very different. But like beta-carotene is a terpene that gives black pepper its anti-inflammatory property. Well, there's a ton of beta-carotene in our hemp plant as well. Black pepper and hemp, same terpene. It's pretty interesting to think about, and it's true. It's science-backed. So you do want terpenes. Terpenes are the sign of good extraction. So if you have good extraction, you're actually getting those terpenes out, but you want to get rid of the wax and the chlorophyll and, all the stuff that gives it its, really earthy flavor. We want to pull all that stuff out typically because it, isn't going to give the product or the oil longevity, and also doesn't taste as good. It's not necessary, for health reasons. Some people may argue that you get, you lose a little omega oil, but you can get omega oil from a lot of places. But we want to make it taste good. We want to do that through no flavoring. Our product is mixed into MCT oil, coconut oil, which is a medium chain fatty acid. That fat actually allows the cannabinoids to absorb better. Cannabinoids absorb really well under the tongue, but they actually absorb the best in the stomach. This is contrary to science that was out there 5 or 6 years ago, which has now been disproven, where sublingually under the tongue, it was thought that was the best place to absorb. That's the quickest absorption, but the most longevity for absorption is through the stomach. And when we're doing pain and mobility issues for dogs, that's how we want to get it into their body. So we just put it in their food. So it's super easy to dose. Can you squirt in their mouth? Yeah, you can. If you want, just open their cheek up, stick the dropper in there. It's glass, so make sure it's not near their teeth, and just squirt some in there. If that dog's having a seizure, that will help. Depending on the dog situation, you want to talk to your vet. I'm not a vet. You want to talk to your vet before you change your dog's wellness protocol, of course, especially with seizures, because seizures are one of the more complicated situations. But CBD also is neuroprotectant for seizures. So people should know there's a double whammy. CBD can help with a lot of seizures, but also can protect the brain during a seizure and for recovery. So that's really something that if you do have dog with seizures, you should talk to your vet about using a good quality full spectrum CBD product for that. And then just the final, the third form of CBD is broad spectrum. The broad spectrum could have all the cannabinoids and terpenes, but it's minus THC. And people say, well, I don't want to give my dog THC anyways. A full spectrum product is going to have a trace amount of THC below 0.3%. That is light years below any psychoactive amount. It's not going to get your dog high. It's not going to make your dog sleep, but it's crucial for a few things. One is it helps activate all the other cannabinoids as anti-inflammatory. So it makes the product, those cannabinoids work better with THC a little tiny bit. Dogs have twice as many endocannabinoid receptors in their body than humans. Pretty interesting to think about. That's why it works so well. The best product that you can give your dog is a very high quality full spectrum hemp extract. CBD dominant, but has the supporting cannabinoids and terpenes. It doesn't have flavoring, so you can taste it. It should taste smooth. You can put it on your tongue and let it slowly leak down your throat from there. And there's a lot of taste buds all over our mouth, under our tongue. There's different ones and above our tongue, and you can subtly taste it, and you'll be able to taste the quality of the plant. It should taste smooth. And all dog products are really going to be human grade. It's really the same thing that we take. It's just the dosing is different.
That was my next question.
The 3 bottle sizes are the same oil. They're just different dilutions. So a 200 milligram would service smaller animals under 20 pounds or under 40 pounds as a trial to see. You can use our 200 milligram, which is our smallest bottle size. For a big dog, you're just going to end up using a lot more oil. The 500 and 1000 are more concentrated for bigger animals, or for you could probably put, instead of 6 drops of what you're giving her right now, you could use our 500 milligram and just give her 2 drops. The taste is going to be a little stronger, but by the way, most of the dogs will like the taste. We actually rarely find a dog who doesn't. It's usually the opposite. People are saying, our dog loves the taste of your product. So, but dogs are finicky. If they are, just put it in their food, and we recommend putting it in their food anyways. Put it in their food. If they're still adverse to it, use a drop of bacon grease or 2, and they'll get over it really fast. So that's the secret weapon. The 1000 is just double the size of our 500. So it's really just whatever dose you want. Any of them will satisfy you. But if you have a dog 50 pounds or above, you should start with our 500. That would be good for any size dog. And then people buy the 1000 because it's a better deal. And it is actually, it's just double the size. It's the same oil. So it's just the way it's diluted. And there's just our hemp extract and MCT coconut, all organic in there. We do have a 4th product that I do want to mention, if you don't mind. Is
it the Ultra Behavior?
Yes.
Yes.
Our Ultra Behavior formula is really special. We released it in December this past year. It has a molecule in it that's different than the other molecules. It's got a cannabinoid called CBN. CBN is a relaxant molecule. It occurs in really trace amounts in hemp. But 3 years ago, we set to develop a strain that would grow more CBN because we knew CBN would be could potentially help with anxiety. And so we started testing it about 3 years ago. We just weren't able to mass produce a product yet compliantly, but we started experimenting with ourselves and some of the dogs that had already been on our normal product for quite a long time, like a year or 2, for anxiety. And it always had irked me that we weren't able to make more progress through cannabinoids in the endocannabinoid system with anxiety. We had, it's 75 to 90% success for anxiety with our original formula. Most dogs are good with that. Fireworks, loud noises, just overall just homeostasis of mood and relaxing worked really, really well for. Some it worked completely perfectly for. A majority of them, there was a portion that it worked really good, but they could still use more help, but they still, continued to use it. And there's some that were so bad, or maybe, they have such bad anxiety that we weren't seeing a huge effect. And a lot of these dogs are already on other medications, so it's hard to see if you're adding stuff in, if it's working. And so what we did was we noticed a couple of years ago how well this new formula worked for the anxiety for the dogs who weren't previously seeing an effect from our normal CBD dominant full spectrum product. And we started to see different results. And those dogs that were not able to see results with our original formula, we were seeing major positive results with this new formula. And so we tested it over a couple of years, overwhelmingly successful. At the same time, we were able to grow crops with higher CBN. We were able to get CBN out of hemp, which is really important. There are dispensaries that are selling CBN for humans for sleep. That's great. CBN is definitely a very valuable cannabinoid, but that's not what we're using it for in this case. What we're using it for is dogs that need Prozac. We wanted 10 million animals in the United States have a prescription of Prozac today, right?
Do they really? That's
And
wild to know that. Is this product given through a veterinarian or can they purchase it themselves?
both. We
Okay.
originally only put it with veterinarians because we wanted to make sure that it was being supervised because it is a relaxant. So what we did is last summer, about a year ago, we already had it produced finally. We were using it, but we said there's no science on this molecule out there, even though we've been using it for 3 years and we know it works well. There's no science. And we had done liver enzyme work and worked with veterinarians. We knew it was safe. We said the only way that I feel comfortable selling this product is if we already have science to support exactly what we're selling it for, which is anxiety. So what we did is we initiated a clinical trial about a year ago, just coming up in 12 months now, with prominent veterinarians, and we have a major university on it as well. And we started testing it. And we started with 25 dogs back in August of 2021. And we set out to prove two things. One, that it was safe to consume. We did that through testing the liver enzymes with each dog and through blood work. And so we started most, if not all, of the dogs off testing their blood. A lot of these dogs had already been on pharmaceuticals, and Prozac usually is harsh on the liver for dogs. And it has other
among other things, I'm sure, yeah.
Physical and not even before you get into the mental side effects. It's blocking pathways, like normal pathways. So we set up for the clinical trial, and it was a huge, overwhelming success. And 6 months in, well, about 4 or 5 months in, we had enough documented data to show how safe and how effective it was. We had all these dogs that were under veterinary care that were on Prozac that had never seen this sort of success through something that they took for their anxiety. What we noticed, the difference between this product and Prozac, is that this brought out a better, more natural personality of a dog. Prozac's blocking the pathways. The CBN is actually helping open up the pathways, but it's not just the CBN, it's the combo of all the cannabinoids in the formula and the way we dose it. We did a lot of research on this, and inevitably, because this product's been an overwhelming success now. Our ultra behavior formula it's gone viral because it literally is a Prozac replacement for dogs, and it works better and it's safer. I can say that confidently right now. That's what the science shows. We're actually doing it. We're living it. And so, Dr. Hempdog is really morphed into a cannabinoid sciences for animals company. And our mission is to be the leading cannabinoid sciences for animals company in the world, so we can make a positive effect through cannabinoid science. And we are doing it.
You have a lot of science on your site. I mean, you have a very proficient and efficient website. So I definitely want to urge people to go there as well when we're done.
It feels like a very long period of time that we've been in this business because it's moved really quickly, this industry.
Well, and you started off in a good place in Colorado, where it was the first place to really be legalized in that way. And a lot of people for their children move there so that they could have their children take it for seizures or whatnot. So
this is, for all 50 states, our product is legal. There are no issues with it to ship it to you anywhere. We can't ship to Canada, unfortunately. There's a lot of Europe and Mexico that we can ship to. But
Colorado was on the forefront, wasn't it, back when it?
Well, yeah, all of the machinery's here. All of the first, everything is here. This is ground zero. But also, this is also a huge bonus about being in Colorado. Colorado has the most significant compliance issues. If you're here as a grower and a extractor and a manufacturer, we are under more scrutiny being in Colorado than any other state for compliance and for quality issues for our grow and for our extraction. Before we launch a new product, Colorado State actually has to approve it, and they have to run it through their lab to make sure it's good. So we are at an advantage with compliance by being in Colorado. And
that's what I wanted to point out with the product, of all this information that you've given, because I have talked to people, and there are so many CBD products out there. There's chews, and there's, there's, you name it, it's out there. And there's a lot of bad products out there that don't do the job. So if it didn't work for them, then they don't want to try again. And so that's what I really wanted to have your knowledge to enlighten people of, like, just how detailed it is. And, going into third party, the certificate of analysis, and what people can really look for.
That's the key. That's the thing you want. If they don't have it, then skip the company. For humans or for animals, if they don't have a certificate of analysis that's easy to find, and you can't make an educated purchase. So you just skip any of those brands. There's plenty of quality brands out there that have transparency. Compare their lab work to ours and look at the contaminants, pesticides, solvents. Heavy metals are a big one because hemp pulls so much out of the soil. There's a lot of lead that you'll get in products out there, mercury, and then pesticides, solvents, and fungus, mycotoxins and mold and stuff like that. So that's what the lab work should be showing you. Also, there's lab work will tell you if it has terpenes in it or not. If it doesn't have terpenes, then it either wasn't a great extraction, or they don't want you to know what's in the product, or they weren't willing to pay for the test, which means they don't care about quality. Because if you're trying to tell people on quality, you want to show them that you have all these medicinal terpenes in your product. And the only way to do that is to have a third-party lab certify it.
And that is invaluable information right there. That's huge. So the previous product I was using needed to be refrigerated. And so when I had my call, I asked about that and they said, oh no, this doesn't have to be refrigerated. And I was just curious to why theirs did and yours doesn't, or what the benefits
Awesome question. Great question. Cool. So this is a good circle back to the original part of our conversation today, which you were telling me the kinesiology, and that I loved what you said. But what I really wanted to clarify was you had this product. Kinesiology said that our product, you were more apt to use our product because of the kinesiology results. So you did. But did you see a difference in the results with Lilliput with our product compared to the product that you were using before you encountered our product, as far as the symptom relief?
Yes, I was a little nervous to take her off pain meds completely, but there were times where she didn't have them at all that day or the couple days. So yes, I did see a difference for sure.
Yes. And that's important. And that's really all your community needs to know as far as the difference between products. Here's a product that someone who's highly educated and very intelligent, yourself, Tiffany, that is going out to get your world, your little Lilliput, whatever, you want the best for her. And thankfully, because she's so light, things cost less than if you had a 100-pound lab, right?
That's
so she doesn't
true.
need as much, but you would buy the best for her, and you're knowledgeable, and you came up with a product, and there was still a better product out there that worked better. So that is, for a case study for your listeners. I think that's really important to identify. And I'm happy to see the results were better. I'm not surprised, but I don't know what other product you're using. There are definitely other products out there that you're using, and you say, oh, I'm using this product. Yeah, actually that product's pretty good. It's not a bad product. Like, if you go ahead and finish up the bottle and then call us and we'll sell you a bottle of, but if Lilliput stays in that product, you're not in a bad situation. But the refrigeration is typically from another ingredient. So they've added an ingredient to that will spoil.
Got it.
Hemp oil does not spoil, and our product doesn't spoil. It doesn't. I mean, the only thing you're going to have a problem with is if you leave a bottle in a hot car and it goes up to 140 degrees, those terpene essential oils, they might taste a little bitter.
I don't recommend that with any product though, right? Anything, right. if you could help
totally,
it.
But it's still safe to use, but you might get a little bit more of that flavor out of it. That's the only thing. And it's still safe to use at that point. I'm just warning you, if you say, oh, I don't like the taste. Well, did you leave it in a hot car? Probably not. But that's the only thing you have to be careful of. If they put wild salmon oil in the tincture, that's good. Wild salmon oil is great for mobility and for senior dog brain and heart health. I highly recommend wild sockeye salmon oil. I think it's amazing. Get the best quality, not fish oil, wild sockeye salmon oil in glass as the vessel. That stuff is going to be exceptional for senior dog brain and heart health and with mobility. So that's why they put it in there. Well, you need a lot more wild salmon oil than Lilliput's going to get out of the little bit that's in that tincture of her cannabinoid oil. You're going to need a lot more. So why put it in there? The only what you're causing is causing a problem that needs to be refrigerated, which is not convenient, and it's especially inconvenient for travel. And now you don't know if you spoiled the product or not and if it's good to give your dog. So now you're in a conundrum. There's no reason to add anything to hemp oil. But if you want to give your dog wild salmon oil or wild sockeye salmon oil,
you can do it separately.
Wild sockeye salmon oil and give it to them. If you want to give your dog joint supplements, don't buy your CBD and joint supplements together. Make sure they get the proper amount of the joint supplements, the proper wild salmon oil, the proper turmeric, the proper amount of blue-green algae or spirulina, the proper probiotic, and you feed them a great food, and no dog has a problem consuming all of that if you approach their food correctly. And if you need help with that, let us know. We're experts at it. That's the way to get all this stuff in your dog's body is through the diet. And if you need help getting them to eat more, we have some tricks so we can help you there. So I hope that answers that question about spoilage. And there is a date on the bottom of our bottles, best by. What you'll see is the cannabinoids will get a little weaker over time, but we're talking less than 1% a year. So if you have a bottle that's 10 years old, it's going to work.
Amazing. That's really important to know. So do you do some taste testing yourself? I know you mentioned that really they could bounce back and forth. I know you're making this specific for dogs, but it's human grade, right? So if I wanted to taste it, I'm okay. It's not like it's just for the dog.
Everything. We taste everything.
Well, thank you, Marc. All your information is so invaluable. We could go on and on, obviously. With every interview I do, I ask the guests 3 things that they would offer that they could do for their pet, either regarding CBD or not. Like, for instance, me I wash Lily's feet every time I take her for a walk. I bring them in because she's on grass, she's touching pesticides. So I make sure to wash her feet with, a soap that has, no chemicals in it, like a Dr. Broders or something. So are there 3 things that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah, and that's it. You just want 3 tips on what you should do for your dog for wellness.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I love spirulina and blue-green algae for dog wellness. I think it's something that if you have a dog with an ailment, with like cancer or a senior dog, that's a no-brainer. There's really reputable brands online. If you need any recommendations, reach out to us. There's some recommendations on our website. But I think that is one of the best things you can do for your animal. Walks, and I'll just be blunt with you, but walks don't count as exercise. If you have a dog that's that's a breed that needs to be exercised, like a 3-year-old Labrador or, any sort of dog that needs exercise, figure out a way to get them to run. And if you can't get them to run because they have an ailment, get them in the pool. The more swimming you can do with any dog with mobility problems, it's going to make them live a lot more comfortably and a lot longer. So for exercise, that's, a tip. And then, overall diet is really crucial. The one thing is make sure your dogs drink the same water that you drink for health. Whatever you do at home. Because
hopefully not tap water.
Things. Well, some places have great tap water. So that's okay. It depends, but just make sure you know what kind of water's going into your dog's body, because that can be a huge thing. And you can invest in a reverse osmosis system for $800 that runs right in your kitchen. That's small, and that works extremely well for you and your dog. So we want to make sure we're not giving them cancerous things out of the tap water, or we at least want to know what's going on. And then one more, if you have a dog with an ailment that is really difficult to navigate, find a very good acupuncturist, an exceptional acupuncturist. Tap your network. They can be very helpful with understanding what's going on inside your dog's body, because when they stick the needles in, depending on the dog's reacts to those needles, either the body will pull them in or push them out a little bit. The veterinarian that's doing that can actually see what's going on in the body. That's data to tell them how the body's reacting. So they can be very useful to help navigate ailments, and also for senior dog wellness. It can help your dog walk better to doing acupuncture. And so there's more tips on our website that we can share, but hopefully that helps. I think that might have been 4. But
that's a great tip. The acupuncture was amazing for Lily as well. Thank you for that.
Whatever we can do to help you, reach out. We're here as a resource for you. We're here to provide hope, and we do it we genuinely, and we can back it up. If you reach out to us, we're not going to push any products on you. We're just going to help you and your dog be educated. And you decide you want to work with us, we're happy to do it. But we're here as a resource for everyone, veterinarian, consumer. If there's any dogs that speak, English out there, they got the vocal cords, you guys can call us up too.
Well, thank you. This is Marc Halprin of Dr. Hempdog at drhempdog.com. And I'm so grateful to have found you and met you. And thank you for all your wisdom and too much success. And we'll see you next time. Please, if you like this, definitely share it. There are so many dogs that could use the help of something more natural like a CBD, and Dr. Hempdog is a great way to go.
I think there's a discount code for people too.
There is a discount code.
Talk to my staff.
GWT, Green with Tiffany. So GWT10 for 10% off. So thank you, Marc. And we'll speak soon. And thank you everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time or hear you next time on Green with Tiffany. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to me. You can find me at greenwithtiffany.com and on Instagram. Till next time, choose to care.